We're at an event honoring some of the influential women in business in the greater Baton Rouge area, and there's an array of women here who are doing really fascinating and innovative stuff. Women have actually added more jobs to the economy since the recession than men. If you look at women-owned businesses, they're the ones that collectively have been hiring people since the financial crisis. That's so important to the overall health of our economy, of our communities, of our country. So it's important to keep encouraging women in business to keep on building companies, to keep on growing, to keep on hiring.
On behalf of the Business Report and our sponsors, Business First Bank, the Junior League of Baton Rouge, Keene Miller Law Firm, and Ricky Herman's Florists and Gifts, I would like to welcome you to the 2014 Influential Women in Business Luncheon.
It is such an honor and a privilege to be with you. I'm going to be brief. I know my remarks stand between you and your lunch, but I do want to make three quick comments. First, I want to congratulate each and every one of the amazing women we're honoring today. I don't know about you, if you had a chance to read their stories, what an amazing group of individuals that make such a difference every day in the private sector, in the not-for-profit sector, in the government sector. Amazing stories are out there making our state a better state, our country a better country. Let's give each of the women we're honoring today a great round of applause. Each and every one of them should be congratulated and honored as a point of personal privilege, and they all deserve our attention and praise. I do want to single out just one of them, Christy Nichols, who has now worked with me for the last 6.5 years. It's hard to believe it's that long in state government. She's done a phenomenal job. She's now serving as a Commissioner of Administration. She is the one person who has the biggest smile on anybody on her face, on anybody in this room, thanks to the fact the legislature ended yesterday at 6 p.m. Christy, congratulations on being honored today and the terrific work you do. I just want to share two quick things. One is this. One of the takeaways I took when I read these amazing stories of accomplishment and generosity, it reminded me of a book that was written back, I think in the 90s, that said the good news is the bad news is wrong. Now, what do I mean by that? I bet you everybody here got up today, and every one of us could have found 5 or 6 reasons to be unhappy today if we wanted to do that. Maybe you were thinking about the LSU baseball game last night. Maybe you turned on the cable news and you saw somebody yelling at somebody else, talking about how awful things are going in our country. Maybe you read a story in the paper, or maybe just you were thinking that you're getting older and your bones are a little creakier. It's easy to find a reason to be unhappy every morning you get up. But as I read these stories, I'm so inspired by these stories of accomplishment. It reminds me, we've got 3 little young kids at home. I don't know about you, but when I was a little kid growing up, a lot of times it was tempting. You just couldn't wait to get older. You couldn't wait till you were grown up and you got to do big people things. You wanted to stay up late at night like the adults. You wanted to be able to eat whatever you wanted to eat. You didn't want to have somebody telling you what to do. Well, I've got a little boy who is 7 years old, our youngest of 3, and he knows he is living the best life he will ever live. This is a kid that does not want to grow up. He is the happiest little boy. When school ended several days ago, he just looked at summer and thought, I'm going to have nothing but hours and hours of swimming and playing with my friends. He spent the night at a friend's house last night, and he was so excited. He came home. He captured all kinds of frogs and tadpoles and all kinds. Every time he comes back with 3 or 4 new frogs or snakes or turtles or whatever he's bringing home, new pets. And he's so excited, Mommy, they're free. He's so excited now his newest thing is if he gets to eat popcorn before going to bed, that makes him the happiest little boy in the world. What I love about his spirit, a few weeks ago he was celebrating something at church, so a lot of friends and family brought him presents, and as he's opening his presents, as adults, when we get presents, we just practice that smile and we thank people, whether we like the gift, whether we know what it is or not. I love the enthusiasm of a child. They're just so honest. When he opens his presents, he just yells out at the top of his lungs as he's opening the wrapping paper, "This is awesome. This is the best thing ever." And I'll say, "Slade, what'd you get?" "Oh, I don't know." But he just knows it's going to be something good because it's a gift for him. And the reason I share that story with you is so many kids want to be adults. So many times as adults, we wish we were kids again. We had summer off and we had all those joys of childhood. One of my takeaways from reading these impressive stories from these amazing women is that good things are happening right here in Louisiana. Good things are happening right here in America. You can find 5, 6, 7 reasons to be upset every time you get up, or you can find 5, 6, 7 reasons to be grateful. We're blessed to be in this great state and this great country. And the women we're celebrating today are one more reason, one more example we should be grateful we get to live in this great state where such amazing things are happening. Final point I'll make is this. I hope all of us will remember, because I stand before you not just as your governor, but also as a son and as a husband and as a father. I hope all of us will remember the amazing women in our lives that have made an impression on us or influenced us or continue to be in our lives today. I was born and raised in this great city of Baton Rouge because my mom came to study nuclear physics at LSU. It's an amazing story to me that a pregnant woman would come halfway across the world, never been to Baton Rouge, never been to Louisiana, never met anybody who'd been to Louisiana, but just had this unshakable conviction. If you get to Baton Rouge and if you work hard, you can do great things, and your kids and your grandkids can do well. Now I'm blessed to be married to a wonderful woman of 17 years, chemical engineer, MBA. She's now at home raising our beautiful kids. But maybe the future woman that's had the most impact on my life most recently has been my little girl. And I'll close with a story about her. 12 years old, and they always tell you, I didn't have sisters growing up. They always tell you growing up that girls mature faster than boys. And by the way, boys, I think that's a polite way of them telling us that those girls are smarter than we are. They just like to sugarcoat it. And I never understood that because I didn't have sisters growing up, but I finally think I'm beginning to understand it. I'll close with this story. When we moved in the mansion, Celia was 6. Sean was 3, and Slade, the youngest, was 1. And we moved in, and I remember coming home one day, and this tells you a little bit about the difference between how girls and boys think. I come in one day, and Sean, the 3-year-old, is in the kitchen. Now, those of you that have been in the mansion, there's an industrial-sized kitchen there. They cook for the troopers, and they cook for a lot of folks there. It's not a normal kitchen you would find in your home. It's an industrial-sized kitchen. And so we had moved from our home there, and it's a bigger kitchen than what Sean's used to. I walk in there at all of 3 years old. Sean has got a stool on top of a counter, and he has climbed up. I mean, these cabinets go all the way up to the top. He has climbed up several feet in the air, and this whole thing looks like it's about to come crashing down. And I sneak in on him. He doesn't hear me come in. I go in there. I go, Sean, what are you doing? You're going to break your neck. And he almost jumps. And he looks around, he sees me, and he's so cute because he whispers to me almost conspiratorially. He said, Daddy, there's candy up here. He found out the staff, they do a lot of baking there, and they have their baking chocolate up there, and there's just jars and cans full of it, and he'd found out where it was. I said, well, Sean, I know what's up there, but what are you doing up there? How'd you find out it was up there? And again, he whispers to me conspiratorially to make sure I don't tell anybody. He says, Celia told me. I said, really? Now, where's your sister? And he turns around and he honestly thinks she's going to be behind him. She's been smart enough to tell him that he should get up there and go get her some chocolate. But as soon as she had heard me come in the room, she had taken off. I go find her. She's got a sweet, innocent look on her face, and she just says, Daddy, I have no idea what Sean was doing up there on that stool. I look at my little girl and I see all those traits you want to see in a young woman. She's smart, she's independent. I have no worry she'll ever give in to peer pressure. I just wish she would develop these traits after she was an adolescent instead of as such a young girl in our house. But as I look at her, I'm proud that she will have opportunities that her mom and her grandparents could only dream about, thanks to the Trailblazers we're here to celebrate today. So to the influential women, congratulations on what you've done. Most importantly, thank you for inspiring us and reminding us that we live in such an incredible time, in such an incredible place. Rolf and Julio, thank you, and all the others of the Baton Rouge Business Report, thank you for organizing this event to celebrate these amazing women. Congratulations.
Before we introduce the 2014 honorees, we'd like to recognize the past influential women in business honorees. Being a woman in the business world may be more common than it used to be, but I can assure you it is still a challenge. We juggle family life, business obligations, hopefully a social calendar. The Women in Business honorees do their jobs well and they make it look easy, but I am here to tell you it is not easy. Some of our former honorees are here with us today. We appreciate them joining us, and I would ask them to please stand at this time and be recognized. If you're a former honoree, and to present this year's honorees, I would like to welcome Stephanie Regal, editor of the Business Report.
Thank you, Ashley. And we hope you had a chance to see our newest issue of Business Report, which came out last week featuring our honorees. I want to pay special compliments to Penny Font, our managing editor, and also to photographer Marie Constantine, who did a beautiful job putting the magazine together. And now to present an award to each of our honorees, I'd like to ask Executive Editor of Business Report, David Dodson, to join us up at the front. As I introduce this year's honorees, I would like to ask you to each come to the front as your name is called and accept your award from David. All right, the reason we're all here. Our first honoree is a choreographer and experienced professional dancer whose work has been described as tasteful and poignant, a cathartic journey, and hot, high-spirited dance. But in addition to being a talented and recognized artist, she is also a teacher and a mentor. Hundreds of young people have learned to appreciate the value of hard work through her dance classes. Ladies and gentlemen, it is my pleasure to introduce Chris Cangelosi, founder of Cangelosi Dance Project. Our next honoree has her work cut out for her. As Vice President of Marketing and Workforce Development Strategies for Turner Industries Group, she's in charge of helping one of the area's largest industrial contractors staff up for that coming industrial construction boom. She also oversees marketing and communication for the company, and if that weren't enough to keep her busy, she served on the Louisiana Chemical Alliance Industry Board of Directors since 1990 and the Alliance Safety Council Board since 2007. Ladies and gentlemen, Toby Craig, Vice President of Marketing and Workforce Development Strategies for Turner. When Pinnacle Entertainment announced it was opening a major new attraction in Baton Rouge, the first executive appointment the company made was this next honoree. Though she had considerable experience at the time in the gaming industry, she had never before opened a new property. Turns out she was an excellent fit to run the new casino's marketing program. A graduate of the Manship School of Mass Communication at LSU and a member of the school's alumni board, she has an inherent knack for the marketing profession and an understanding of the local community where she is a tireless volunteer. Ladies and gentlemen, Kim Ginn, Vice President of Marketing at L'Auberge Hotel Casino. Our next honoree is a speech therapist by profession who tapped into her passion for helping young children with communication challenges to rebrand and expand the business model of a 50-year-old beloved nonprofit in Baton Rouge. 2 years ago, she and her team led a capital campaign that successfully raised $7 million in just 18 months for the Baton Rouge Speech and Hearing Foundation. They built a new facility, enabling the institution to expand its services and reach more needy families. Today, the Emerge Center for Communication, Behavior, and Development stands out as one of the premier community resources in Baton Rouge. Ladies and gentlemen, Melissa Juneau, Executive Director for the Emerge Center. Our next honoree has one of the toughest jobs in state government. She's in charge of the state budget and is currently leading a mammoth project to save an estimated $500 million over the next few years, primarily by managing assets better and spending money more wisely. With less than 2 years left in the second term of her boss, Governor Bobby Jindal, she's in a rush to get as much done as she can. And she says her first priority is to do the best job possible for the state. Though now that the session is over, she's able to devote a little more of her time and energy to training for an Ironman triathlon, which she will compete in Florida this fall. Only someone with that much energy could head up the Division of Administration for the state of Louisiana. Christy Nichols. Just about anyone who's ever laced up a pair of running shoes and set out for a jog around Baton Rouge knows this next honoree. She's a fixture in the Capital Region, a fitness community, the founder and owner of Varsity Sports, a former competitive runner herself, and a generous sponsor of local races and events, many of which go to benefit local charities. She's also well known to many LSU Business School alumni as a former associate professor of marketing. Above all, she's a tireless promoter of Baton Rouge. She's passionate about her community and making it a better place. Ladies and gentlemen, Jenny Peters, owner of Varsity Sports. Next honoree is a standout in the very challenging and competitive field of tax law. She is counted among the best lawyers in America and is listed in the 2014 edition of Louisiana Super Lawyers. She has bachelor's and master's degrees from LSU, studied at Harvard University's Kennedy School, and received her Juris Doctorate from LSU's Paul M. Hebert Law Center. She has been special counsel to a governor and has been a senior policy advisor on economic development, insurance, and revenue policy. Ladies and gentlemen, Kimberly Robinson, partner, Jones Walker. Our next honoree is a thinker, a planner, and an innovator. In 1991, she worked with the Louisiana Endowment for the Humanities and created a reading program for children that is now used in 48 states and several foreign countries. An accomplished musician, she found herself drawn to the knowledge, order, and organization of a public library. And since 1984, she's worked here with the East Baton Rouge Parish Library System. She was instrumental in the design and development of the new $43 million main library on Goodwood, and she was key in bringing the project in on time and on budget. Ladies and gentlemen, Mary Stein, Assistant Director of the East Baton Rouge Parish Library System. And our final honoree today is a trailblazer in the world of business and technology. She was one of the few women to major in computer science at LSU in the early 1980s. In the 3 decades since, she's also earned a business degree as a certified public accountant and has combined those two fields to create a firm that provides IT security audit services to financial institutions, hospitals, and other businesses. She's known for utilizing technology to help her company be more efficient and innovative. And she measures success on productivity rather than the amount of hours logged at a desk. We like that. Ladies and gentlemen, Lisa Trainer, owner and president, Trainer and Associates. And here they are, ladies and gentlemen, our 2014 Influential Women in Business. Congratulations, ladies.
Our speaker today is the Director of Digital Media for the Story Exchange, a nonprofit media organization that supplies stories of entrepreneurial women to partners that include the Wall Street Journal. She is a former small business editor of the Wall Street Journal and author of the Wall Street Journal Complete Small Business Guidebook. She's also served as an editor at Entrepreneur, Business Week, and Smart Money. We need to talk. She's reported on a variety of issues affecting small business owners, from social media marketing to alternative financing to healthcare reform. Colleen has been interviewed on television and radio, including MSNBC, Fox Business News, CNBC, CBS, and NPR. Please join me in welcoming Colleen DeBase.
Thank you for that nice introduction. So when the Business Report approached me to speak today, to leave New York and to come down to Louisiana, I was thrilled, and not just because Julio promised me some of the best cuisine in America, a promise he delivered on, by the way. Last night I had something called the Hallelujah Crab, which you don't have that in Manhattan, so. But a year or so ago, I was editing a story for Entrepreneur magazine about unexpected locations in the United States where entrepreneurship is thriving. And everybody knows, of course, about the Silicon Valleys and the New Yorks and the Bostons. But we wanted to look at places where resources, a supportive culture, and just homegrown innovation are just combining to provide fertile ground for business. And you'll be happy and probably not surprised to know that Baton Rouge made the list. And here is exactly, So here is exactly what we wrote. About 80 miles up the Mississippi River from New Orleans, Baton Rouge is the state capital, a petrochemical and manufacturing hub, and home to Louisiana State University's flagship campus. If New Orleans is the state's vivacious, sometimes tipsy daughter, then Baton Rouge is its workhorse. So I have a feeling that many of you in this room know a thing or two about being a workhorse. The article went on to list many of the resources in Baton Rouge: the LSU Innovation Park, Startup Weekend, Baton Rouge Entrepreneurship Week, just for starters. And at this point, I just want to sort of state the obvious here. You can't develop a reputation as a thriving entrepreneurial community without help. I know that the Greater Baton Rouge Business Report has long been committed to boosting this city's business scene. So I just want to say thank you, Business Report, for that. I was also thrilled to be invited here to speak because this is an event that honors entrepreneurial women. So I feel like I'm speaking to my base here. By entrepreneurial, I mean business owners, and I know a lot of you in this audience are business owners, but also business leaders, because even if you work for someone else, you can be entrepreneurial in your own right. So all of us in this room, I think, know how important entrepreneurial women are to our economy. But in case you forgot how important you all are, I'd like to show you a video on this topic that we produced at the Story Exchange, which is where I currently work. We're a nonprofit media site that produces articles and videos about female entrepreneurs. Our content is picked up by mainstream partners like the New York Times. And so one of our missions is to shine a spotlight on entrepreneurial women around the globe who are contributing to their communities and collectively making an impact on the global economy. And we feel this is important because there's always a lot of media attention on those sort of high-growth tech startups, the Facebooks and the Twitters of the world, that are really predominantly led by men. But there isn't enough attention on the smaller companies in an array of industries that women around the world, like yourselves, are running and growing. So at this point, I'd like to show the video. Women are also starting businesses at 1.5 times the national average, and women have also, and I find this fascinating, have collectively added more jobs to the economy than men since the recession, so good stuff there. So at the Story Exchange, through our videos and our articles, we also try to provide role models to other women. After all, you can't be what you can't see. By telling the stories of successful women, we try to inspire other women to pursue their entrepreneurial dreams. So with that in mind, I'd love to share with you some of the best takeaways and pieces of advice that I've gotten over the years from 3 super successful female entrepreneurs. As a longtime journalist for the Story Exchange, for Entrepreneur Magazine, and for the Wall Street Journal, I've had the enormous good fortune of interviewing some of America's most successful and most interesting entrepreneurs. So perhaps their wisdom will give you the insight you need to keep building your companies, to keep pursuing your dreams, and just to keep going, especially on those days when you feel overwhelmed. And I know we all have those days. So let me start with Barbara Corcoran, who is pretty famous in the New York City area because the company she founded, which is called Corcoran, is New York City's biggest real estate firm. And of course, real estate is a big deal in New York. She is also one of the sharks on Shark Tank, the TV show, so you might know her from there. And the Corcoran real estate firm was started by Barbara in 1973 with just $1,000. So an interesting story about Barbara is that she started the company with her boyfriend at the time, and they ran it together for 7 years, at which point he told her, "I'm dumping you and marrying your secretary." Yeah, so this was obviously not good news. So they decided to split the company in two. They each picked the real estate agents that they wanted to take with them. And then as Barbara was walking out the door, feeling terrible, her former boyfriend said to her, "You will never make it without me." She says that's the best thing he could have said to her. Yep. Boy, did she prove him wrong. She continued to work hard, built that company. She eventually sold it in 2001 for $66 million. That's a pretty good return on investment for $1,000. And I'm not sure what happened to him, actually, so. Yeah. So I've had the good fortune of interviewing Barbara, and one time I asked her what it takes to be an entrepreneurial success story. And I was sort of surprised at what she said. She talked about the resilience you need to be a business leader, which some of you probably know pretty well. She's talked about how you needed to have this ability to overcome failure and the ability to keep picking yourself up when you fall down. And I'll read to you exactly what she said to me, because I was really struck by it. She said, "Ask yourself the question of how good are you with rejection? When you get slammed on the head, personally, professionally, when you're handed insult, when people don't believe, when your parents don't love you, when your brother says he'll never be anything, how good are you at standing back up? If you can bounce back faster than the next guy, that's a natural entrepreneur wired for success in business." So I think Barbara's words are good ones to hear. Being entrepreneurial, as I'm sure you know, isn't always easy. It's hard to be innovative. It's hard when you have this great idea and nobody else gets it. And it's hard when you're spending so much time on your business and your friends and your family members can't figure out why you're sacrificing so much of your time on your company. And it's hard when success doesn't happen overnight. But one thing I've learned from Barbara and countless other entrepreneurs is when you keep the faith, when you continue to believe in your idea, and when you get back up again, even if it takes a lot of times getting back up, that's when the magic happens. So the next entrepreneur I want to mention is someone named Becky O'Neill. And I'm sure none of you in this room have ever heard of her. She is a dog walker in Northern Virginia, and we interviewed her for a video profile and article, both of which ran in the New York Times, and we'll show that video in just a second. What I like about Becky is that she isn't a celebrity. She didn't go to Harvard Business School. She didn't have gobs of money to start her company. She was just an ordinary mom who had a simple idea for a business. And guess what? It took off. As you watch this video, keep in mind that Becky